What's up, y'all? Honey Love here, back with another YouTube video, and today I'm going to be sharing the top 10 tips that I have for anyone that is seeking to have a natural home birth, because that is the birth that I had when I had my daughter. That is my specialty. I am a trained doula. That is definitely my focus, is helping other women have empowered natural home births. So yeah, let's get into it. My first tip would be know why you're having a natural home birth and be confident in your decision. Don't doubt yourself, and just trust in your innate power, because you chose to have a natural home birth for a reason, and you deserve to trust in that innate wisdom that's kind of guiding you towards this path. Don't be afraid. You got this. I think you really have to be confident in the decision that you make and follow through with it, because being confident, it just ensures you're going to do what you really said you're going to do, instead of just kind of falling back like, you know what, maybe I should just go to the hospital, maybe I should just get the medication. Like, who cares? Be confident in your decision, trust in your decision, especially when you understand that one of the principles, the laws here of this world, is the mind is all is mental. And that is a principle that once you start to apply it more and more to your life, you realize that going into anything, the first step is always going to be reprogramming your mind and not allowing yourself to feel like you can't do this, that you aren't able to, you're not powerful. Your body knows how to conceive, how to create and continuously nurture and build and grow this baby within you. It also knows how to birth just like you. Even if you think you don't, there's a divine intelligence within you that is naturally having these amazing magical things happen without you even having to think about it consciously, really. So that ability exists within you. Trust in yourself, trust in your decision, know why you're having a natural home birth, and stick to it. The second tip that I would have would be take a childbirth class. If you haven't taken a childbirth class, or especially if you're a first-time mom and this is your first time having a child, I highly recommend taking some sort of class that educates you on childbirth. And if you can't find any classes available, try and take a quick workshop, read books, study, research, look things up online, watch videos on YouTube. Educate yourself on the process of birth, the process of labor, even pregnancy and things like that. When I was pregnant with Lyra, I took a childbirth class with her Holistic Path on Instagram, but I took it with her through Facebook. I think she now sells the course on Udemy or something like that, or just has the course available all year round, and I would highly recommend her class because it helped me a lot in just understanding what to expect when it came to childbirth. The third tip that I have would be hire a doula or a midwife, or both, depending on what type of home birth you want to have. Technically, just having a doula present is an unassisted birth, because they're not medically trained in that same way that a midwife or an OBGYN is. I just recommend hiring a doula or a midwife or some sort of birth expert, because especially if you're a first-time mother, and if you're going into it with not as much, knowledge as you should have, having somebody that is knowledgeable, that knows how to weigh your options, that can help guide you and mentor you and give you the advice that you need throughout that process is a very helpful thing. So I highly advise doing so, and it just depends on your preference, like what you're comfortable with. I really trusted myself, and I was really confident in my decision to be able to have a birth without a medical professional there, and everything worked out. Everything was fine. So, it just depends on you. But if you want to be more just on the safer side, hiring a midwife can assist in that. And there are many different types of midwives, not just midwives that are completely Western and trained in that way, just like, many OBGYNs. So yeah, hire a birth expert so that you know that you're making the best decision for yourself. That being said, my fourth tip would be very intentional about your birth team and who you are deciding that you're going to have around you in the space when you are giving birth to your child. Because I know when I was in labor, when I was giving birth, my energy was on a different level. Any like stress, you felt it times 100. I couldn't handle it. Like I needed what I needed, if that makes any sense. I was really most comfortable with my doula and my daughter's father at the time. Those were the only two people that I felt safe around during that space in giving birth. I felt like things were progressing when I was around them. And, you know, I love my family, but at the time I was still living at home with my parents and my brother. And anytime they came around me, it would make me feel stressed out. And it's like, I love them, but in terms of just in that type of situation, giving birth, I could feel that they were nervous too, they were scared too. And so I couldn't, like, being around them made me give into those emotions too much. And I needed to give in more to my empowerment and knowing my power. And at the time, it felt like Lara's dad and my doula were what were making me feel empowered and helping me, like, just get through the hard parts of labor. They say it takes a village to raise a child, and they're not lying. So be intentional and wise about the village and the community that you create for yourself during your pregnancy, for your birth experience, and onward. My fifth tip would be create a birth plan. This is a great way to prepare for birth because it allows you to visualize, to think about all the different aspects and the factors of your birth, how you want it to turn out, what type of birth you want to have. This is literally allowing you to create like a manifestation of what type of birth you want. By creating a birth plan, it's like setting that intention for yourself. And I think that is extremely important, especially when you're having a natural home birth, to set an intention for yourself. And I have a video I'll link it, on how you can create a birth plan for yourself. But that's another thing. If you have a doula or a midwife, that's normally something they will absolutely do with you, is create a birth plan for yourself. And another good thing about birth plans is they allow for you to prepare yourself for this experience that you're about to go through. And it even allows you, if you want, to put backups and things that if something doesn't turn out in some specific way, how else would you like it to go? And just being very practical about how you plan for your birth. So my sixth tip would be to create birth affirmations for yourself. I think that creating your own personalized birth affirmations can be really helpful because it helps you identify your own personal fears. Be real with yourself. Like, what is it that you're most afraid of when it comes to birth? And then create affirmations that can counteract that. So if you're afraid of tearing, you can create a birth affirmation like, my body stretches for me with ease, or something like that. And just like, you know, trying to counteract these fears, utilizing those affirmations. You can type them up, print them out, make them look pretty, hang them up in your space where you plan on giving birth so you can see them even during your pregnancy, so you're constantly reprogramming your subconscious. Recite them when you wake up in the morning, recite them throughout the day if you're starting to doubt yourself, starting to worry, starting to think about your fears. Recite them before you go to bed, recite them during labor when you are really feeling that shit and you're just like, yo, do I really want to go through with this? Yes. When you feel that, yo, I don't know if I can do this, that's when you know, keep going, because you're right there. And of course it's gonna get hard, but you got it. We've been doing this for centuries. Also, when it comes to birth affirmations, you can, for me, I personally looked up a lot on Pinterest. Like, I would just look up birth affirmations and I created a Pinterest board full of those different affirmations. And my doula ended up printing out my favorite ones that I sent to her, and we hung them around my room during labor. And they really helped, because there was times when the contractions, It was hitting. Your girl was feeling it. There was times when I was like thinking to myself, why did I decide to do this? Like, this hurts. But at the same time, I would look at those affirmations like, the pain is power. I can do this. I got this. This is innate wisdom within me. And when I would see that, it would just kind of give me that, like, okay, let's go. And I'm just powered through, and I did it. And looking back, I would do it again and again and again. So it's worth it. That being said, number 7, or the 7th tip that I have, is to release your fears. And remember that every birth is unique. So your experience is going to be unique. No birth is like another. So people can tell you about whatever experiences they have, but focus on you and your birth. Especially as first-time mothers, it can be really scary because you don't know what to expect. People will be like, oh, it feels like period cramps when you're having contractions, and this is what's gonna happen, and this is what's gonna happen. So you don't have any experience to base it off of. There's this book that, it's like a children's book, but inside it, and I'll link it below, inside it there's this this quote about being brave, and it says, being brave is when you're afraid to do something but you do it anyway. And so I think that's really what's needed when it comes to pregnancy and birth, is like being brave and releasing those fears. You honor those fears, but knowing that I have to do this anyway. This baby gonna have to be born regardless. So step through that. When I was giving birth, I realized that when I was trying to run away from the pain, or when I'm like, just like, you know, trying to run away from it, literally, that's when it would hurt the most. When I surrendered, when I just allowed myself to just be within that, be in that with initiation of motherhood, I felt like releasing control and it allowed me to just go with the waves, just let go and go with it. For real. Because the more you're afraid, the more you're just gonna tense up, the more your body recognizes like, I'm not safe. So it makes labor go slower, it stalls things, it makes things not smooth. Most of the time when women have extremely long, drawn out, hard labors, is because there's fears that they're not facing, that they're not letting go of, that's literally keeping them in this state of like, I can't do it. And the more you release that, the faster you're just like, boom. My 8th tip would be to buy a home birth kit, or buy all the necessary, make a list and buy all the necessary objects that you feel you're gonna need for your home birth. Because personally, I bought a home birth kit and I didn't even use everything in the kit. I didn't even use most of the things, to be honest. All you really need is like some dark towels, like old towels and sheets and blankets or things like that, depending on where you're giving birth at. And you might want to have some things in terms of like ice packs, or those little ice pack things that they give you to put in your underwear or your pads like after you give birth. I love those things. Or you can make some your own like by freezing pads, putting some aloe vera gel in there and things like that. There's certain things, that's why I guess it's like, yeah, get the home birth kit. And you can look them up online, like lots of different midwife services have them, but it's just like sometimes you can edit them so you don't need to get everything, because some of the things they supply you just kind of may not use. So it's just, you know, deciding for yourself what you think you're gonna need. And then obviously if you want to be in the water, renting a pool and things like that. So make a list of all the things that you're gonna need and get all those things so you feel prepped and ready, and you just know that things are gonna run smoothly when you do go into labor. So my 9th tip would be ignore other people's projections and their fears and their birth horror stories, because they're gonna come. When I was pregnant, especially because when people would ask, I would tell them like, yeah, I'm having a home birth, yeah, I'm having a natural home birth. So many people would, like other women would just tell me like, oh my God, this is what happened to me when I was in birth, this happened to this person, this happened to this person, telling me all these horrible, scary fucking stories about their births. And it just pissed me off because I was like, what does it have to do with me? That has nothing to do with the birth that I'm about to have. So please don't project your stuff onto me about this, that, and the third. And they would just tell me like what can go wrong in birth, what I should be afraid of, why it's not safe to have a home birth, even just, and you have to ignore it. Return to sender. All these people's energy, that's not yours. That fear is not yours. Those birth horror stories are not yours. You didn't even go through birth yet. So allow yourself to have your birth. Don't get caught up in other people's shit, for real. Because the more you just allow that to fester and scare you within your subconscious, the more you allow that to possibly manifest. And you don't need that. Why think about that stuff? It has nothing to do with the birth that you're gonna have. So my 10th and my final tip would be prepare for postpartum. Prepare for the 4th trimester, which is gonna hit you like a ton of bricks. It's different. It really is. I don't think this is stressed enough. And now I feel like people are stressing it more and more, but a lot of like pregnancy, it focuses on like pregnancy, and then it's like birth and having the child is the end. That's it. Story done. But postpartum, it's like a whole new chapter begins. They don't tell you enough about how you're going to be so sore you may barely want to move, especially if you have a C-section, end up having a C-section, things like that. They don't tell you just like your baby's gonna be up every few hours, you're not gonna get a full night's rest for a while. They don't tell you how your nipples can get cracked and sore and start bleeding from breastfeeding. They don't tell you about just the parts of postpartum that are just like, yo, I need support. And so I think it's really important during pregnancy to prepare for that, so you don't just wake up and are just like, oh, I don't have the things that I need. That's why I said it's important to build your birth team, but even beyond that, build your postpartum team, who's going to be coming and helping you with the baby, helping you clean, helping you get a break, helping you cook, helping you eat, making sure you're eating. Build that community for yourself. Make those plans. Postpartum is definitely important, and that's another thing, that when you're creating your birth plan, be sure to include postpartum things that you want to do for yourself and include for yourself, because postpartum begins once baby's out. So be prepared for it. It just makes it that much easier. So that's it, y'all. Thanks for watching.